Hello and welcome back to the channel of nonsense and beautiful Bavaria. Now today I want to talk about electric cars. Lots of people out there on the internet seem to think that electric cars are all going to drive the same, which I don't think I really agree with. But manufacturers will have to do more to differentiate their cars from everyone else when we lose petrol power. Some will give you really luxurious interiors, some will give you ludicrous power, some will give you weird sound effects, and it seems that BMW is going to build cars that look different. I think that's the word. Definitely looks different. Yes, in case you haven't guessed and you accidentally clicked on this video, this is the new BMW iX. It's BMW's Tesla Model X rival. It's going to cost from £69,900 in the UK. This is the M50 dual motor version, which is £92,000, so it is pretty expensive, but it's got BMW's latest 5th gen motors. It's got 105 kilowatt hour net battery, and it'll do 380 miles on a charge, which is 20 miles more than the Tesla Model X long range. How much crap am I going to get in the comments just for mentioning Tesla? How dare I? This has got 520 horsepower, 765 newton meters of torque. It'll do 0 to 62 in 4.6 seconds. It will do 124 mile an hour flat out. So it's fast, and there's a faster one coming, apparently. You can charge it up to 195 kilowatts, and 10 to 80% takes 35 minutes, or enough to have at least 6 pot noodles, I think. So you get 90 miles in 10 minutes. Anyway, let's talk about the looks. Oh god, the looks. This got a lot of hate when it was first unveiled on the internet, and I can kind of get why. It's got a big snouty grille, it's got really narrow lights, and it's kind of squat and not quite SUV-ish. It is a big car. It's 4.95 meters long, nearly 2 meters wide, and 1.6 meters tall. It's about the same size as a BMW X5, if you want a modern comparison. No, an old comparison. Anyway, it weighs 2.4 tons despite being built on a carbon core with aluminium bits. And you might remember this from the old i8. Let's have a look. Not sure if you can see that, but all this down here is that kind of weird, almost recycled looking carbon fibre-y stuff that we saw in the i8 sports car. So yeah, it does look a bit blobby, I think it's fair to say. And this, the M50, is on air suspension front and rear, so it has sagged a bit because I parked it on a slope, but we can forgive it that. Round the back you get these really narrow lights. It's got the narrowest taillights and headlights ever seen on a BMW, apparently. Obviously no exhausts. It's covered in cameras, covered in sensors, and it's very high tech. But before I get into that, let's just go back around the front, because I need to talk about that massive grille. I've not seen a grille that big since the World Barbecue Championships. Obviously it's blanked off to signify it's an electric car because it doesn't need to do much cooling. But it's also got some clever stuff. It's packed with sensors. Obviously it's got a camera there, but there's also an 8 megapixel camera up there, which BMW says is the highest res camera fitted to any of their cars ever. It's got a new long range radar as part of an extra autonomous driving type pack, which has got a range of 300 meters. And it's got short range radars. It's got short range radars in the back. It is basically set up to drive itself. Now this grille, you won't be able to see this, and you can't see it at all in fact, but it's covered in a polyurethane, which self-repairs small scratches apparently. So there we go. It's very high tech. There's the super thin laser lights on this one. Yeah, there's a reason it looks like that, to be different. But anyway, let's go around the back and check that out. I don't actually know the size of the boot because I'm a terrible journalist, but I'll show it to you anyway. Again, another camera in the BMW badge. It's a pretty big boot. I've got my stuff in there. What's under the floor? Loads of space for cables and shit. I shouldn't be swearing. You can fold the rear seats down using switches there at the side, and obviously you've got lights in there to show to the rear when you've got the boot up, because that's a European legal requirement. Let's have a look in the back seats. Door handles, they don't move, they're just micro switchy things on the inside. Sorry, I've got some of my stuff in there. It's very airy feeling, and it's got this lovely light blue cloth. This is a German spec car, so you've got business suit hangers, USB-Cs in a sensible place up there, so if you're using this table for your laptop, you can charge off there, heated seat controls, climate controls. and everything else. Right, I'm going to nip around the other side and hop in and show you how much space there is. Yeah, as you might imagine, there are acres and acres and acres, or whatever the German word for acres of space, in the back of the iX. I've got loads of room for my knees, you've got loads of space for your feet under those seats, and I've got, well, tons of headroom. What is quite cool is you get an electrochromatic sunroof, which you can dim using a button at the front. So it's that glass that you have in pervy meeting rooms where you can make it opaque or clear, based on which clients you have in. And yeah, it does it automatically based on how many rays the sun is spitting, or you can just press a button up front. Speaking of up front, guess where we're going next? Yeah, the high-tech bit. Now, whatever you think of the iX's looks on the outside, you can't deny that it is pretty stunning and different on the inside. I really like it. You've got these crystal touches, such as the seat adjustments on the doors. You've also got buttons to open the doors rather than door handles, because it's the future, yo. And you've got a really pretty iDrive controller down there, which looks like cut glass, and it's on a wooden backing, so it all looks see-through, and it's really quite nice. And you've got crystal volume knobs and gear selectors, things like that. The big news up here though is you've got the latest iDrive system, or BMW operating system 8, as someone will shout at me in the comments. It's got 20 times the computing power of anything BMW's put in a car before, and it is stunning. I've been using it for the past 2 days, and it's really simple to use, really straightforward. You've got this huge, almost 15-inch display in the middle, and a 12.3-inch one up front there, and you've also got some very curious German hikers as an optional extra as part of the Spaziergangen pack. Now, I've not been using a key for this car. There's a mobile phone on there, an iPhone, which you just put in your pocket, and the BMW app unlocks the car as you get up to it and lets you do the ignition and everything else. It's very cool. It's very fancy. Look at these men. I'm probably not going to be filming them because of German privacy laws. But anyway, here we go. There are fewer buttons than ever on the steering wheel. It's really straightforward, simple to use, and I like it. And you can customize what you see in the head-up display using a button on there, and also what you see in the driver's display. Now, all that tech really does just come together as you're driving along. You see things like it tells you when there's a red traffic light up ahead in the system there, and it tells you when it goes green. It tells you when there's a stop sign that you're about to run and gives a little stop message. It doesn't beep annoyingly, it just enhances what you can see really on the road ahead. It's really, really clever. Obviously you've got wireless CarPlay, everything else, but the built-in systems are really, really good. I like it. I can't say enough good things about that, nor can I say enough good things about the thumping Bowers & Wilkins sound system fitted to this car. There's actually a special button you can press in here to do a demo, which shows some pretty patterns on the screen, and it thuds your buttocks and massages your perineum with bass, because there are subwoofers in the seat bases and something like 30 speakers throughout the cabin. Now, obviously it's an option, but it's a really, really good one. And that's pretty much it. Right, it's enough waffle about the inside. In short, I love the cloth, I love how airy it feels, I love how futuristic it feels, and the tech all works really well. So I think this is one of my favourite cabins of all time. It's just a shame that so many people might be put off by the looks on the outside, I guess. But anyway, let's go and see how this 2.4 ton behemoth drives and see if it's A, fun, B, comfortable, C, actually any good. And then I'll see you for an outro at BMW's factory, where I'll have to say really bad things about it. Goodbye. Right, let's go for a drive in the BMW iX. I've got my key, which is one of BMW's iPhones that I probably should give back and not steal. Don't think that's freebie, so I just need that in the car with me. Then I can turn it on, press the start button. It whirs into life. And now, one thing I did neglect to mention earlier is that this has four-wheel steer, which is very handy because, as you just saw from my intro, I've parked this in Hansel and Gretel's turnip field, and it's a really tight three-point turn between some electric fences, some cows, and a man on a quad bike with a crate of Radler on the back. So yeah, I can actually feel the four-wheel steer working. It's a really tight spot, and I've done a 15-point turn to get out, which would have been a 20-point turn in an X5. But anyway, one thing BMW is very proud of in its electric cars, and the iX is one of the first to have this, is its fancy sounds composed by Hans Zimmer off of films. Gladiator, I think, was one of his, and Shark Tale. But anyway, less said about that, the better. It sounds worry and complicated. It's quite interesting though, because as you go faster, the sound actually changes. It's not just one robotic sound. It's quite an interesting thing. It's layered and textured, and I can get behind that. Right, let's try to drive on the correct side of the road. My first impressions of this are that it's pretty comfy. Over broken tarmac, over crappy roads, that air suspension in comfort mode is pretty good. I need to take it on some more broken roads because they're annoyingly good around here to see if it does that wallowy thing that electric cars do. But initial impressions are, It's smooth, it's quiet, it is comfortable. I'm about to go on some twisty roads, so yeah, let's see how it goes down here. Yeah, I mean, you are aware that it's a heavy car, but it doesn't roll quite as much as you would think. It's a little boaty, but not terrible. I mean, this is fine. This is a very twisty road that I'm not going down terribly fast because speed limits and my desire to stay alive. There's someone's wood pile there. And around here, any understeer? Not even any tyre squeal. That's quite impressive, and I'm in comfort mode. I'm not in sport mode. Let's put it in sport mode. This wooden fascia is pretty, but it's actually quite hard to see the buttons on because, well, it's wood, right. There's a button here called My Modes. I press that into sport. My ears have popped, so I'm probably shouting. Let's see how suspension feels now. Oh yeah, that is far less roll. Interesting. Oh, and it's quick. It is quick. That 0 to 62 time of, what is it, 4.7 seconds. It feels a little bit faster than that, if I'm honest. You get a lot of power, a lot of torque. Now I could spend all day talking about how that 520 horsepower, 765 newton meters of torque and 4.6 second 0 to 62 time make this fast. And it is fast for a big, heavy car, but for me, what's more interesting is how clever some of the tech is. So the regenerative braking is adaptive. So that basically means that depending on the speed you're doing, the speed limit you're in, how far the car in front is, whether you're on a motorway, whether you're on a twisty road, when you lift off the accelerator, it gives you exactly the right amount of engine braking. It is really clever and really weird. So if you're going from 100 km/h limit down to a 70, and it knows that's happening 200 meters ahead, when you lift off, it will give you enough regenerative braking to slow you down. I really can't say that word, I need to think of a better one. Anyway, it's really smart. And that is a really clever use of sensors in the car, the GPS, the fact it knows where everything is on the road, to make driving easier. And now the real world implication of this is you can drive this for 20 minutes without needing to touch the brake pedal. But yeah, you can drive this for ages without using the brake pedal. It's weird. It's not like other electric cars where you have to use paddles to adjust the levels of regen. It's smartly done. Very good, BMW, well done, yay! It also told me there's a no overtaking sign 300 meters away, which is basically, I think, the car's way of saying, overtake this dawdling car before you get there. And obviously with the electric power, you can overtake it instantly. So I'm going from a 50 into a 30 limit, and by the time I get to the sign, I'm doing 30 kilometers an hour. And then I just put my foot back on the accelerator and I keep going. It's cool. BMW is gonna update this car to have proper level 3 autonomous driving next year, I think, and there's a few other software bits which are coming up which aren't out now. It can do a really cool thing where you can teach it maneuvers. So if you've got a tricky garage to get out of or a tricky driveway, you can record 200 meters of driving it, and then the car will remember that.
500 meters and then immediately turn right.
The car will remember that, and then you can just tell it to get out of the garage on its own. Get in the car and it will drive itself out. And you can store 10 of those little routes in the car for it to use. That's called maneuver assistant, I think. It uses all the sensors to make sure it's in the right place, and it uses GPS to get itself into the starting position, and it's all very, very clever. It's cool. The head-up display is really clear as well, and that shows you your current speed limit, the speed limit you're coming into, and insanely clear maps. So it will show you all the little roads around here. When I was leaving Munich airport yesterday, it showed me all the terminal buildings and everything in the head-up display. It's mental. It's really detailed and it's really cool, and you can use the button on the steering wheel.
Please turn half left in 200 meters and then immediately turn right.
To change what you see. This is a good test of the four-wheel steering. That corner is so tight, you have to drive down the road, round a little stony roundabout, and back to get up the hill because it's so tight. And there's a massive lorry coming, and oh my god.
There left.
I have to say, this doesn't feel quite as big on the road as I was expecting. I was expecting to feel quite intimidated, especially because I'm on the left, unlike the rest of Britain. Right, you gonna let me go? No, you're just gonna drive at me with your roof box on your X1. Thank you, a very kind Dacia driver has let me up. I think that means thanks in Germany as well. It's the right, not the left. No, it's the left hand, not the right. Don't do Hitler salutes. Now, you might be wondering, what in the name of Pferde Schnitzel mit Senf is it like driving holding a steering wheel that has 1, 2, 3, 4, I've lost count of how many sides it has. it's actually all right. It does feel different. It feels a little bit strange at first, but you end up holding it naturally anyway. And it's okay. I'm not saying it's the future of steering wheels, but it's different and it feels a little bit quirky in your hands. I don't mind it, basically, so don't be put off by the funky steering wheel that looks like it could be a bit of melted vinyl record from the 1960s. BMW also says that it's updated its gesture system to be more reliable. Ooh, yeah, I used to have to make quite big movements to get to work, but I can daintily twiddle my index finger and it goes quiet and loud, and you can do all sorts of weird things like this to it. And it does different menus, and you can customize what that does when you flick it the V's. Yo. Oh my god, the view is stunning. I'm in The Sound of Music, or the last episode of Band of Brothers. Right, I interrupt some German rock radio, Pink Floyd, to get on the Autobahn and tell you what the iX is like on a motorway. Does it feel like a lost soul in a fishbowl? Well, it feels very comfortable and very quiet and very serene. I'm not quite sure what BMW has done to make a 2.4 ton car ride as well as this does, but it's very, very cushy. And all your passengers are going to love you if you take them for a ride in this for a long journey, which you can obviously do because it's got 380-mile range. It's serene, it's serenity itself. Not really got any wind noise. It's good, it's really good. I'm probably talking a bit too loudly considering how little road and wind noise there is. And it's still on quite big tyres, so I don't think they must have put a lot of sound deadening in the wheel arches to make it this quiet. I'm really impressed. Anyway, good on the motorways, and I can accelerate lots because it's bloody quick still. In conclusion, on motorways, it makes you feel comfortably numb, frankly, in a good way. There is one negative about driving the iX that I should mention. That's the throttle response when you're in sport mode. When you want to get a move on, you put your foot down, and there is a split-second delay before it dumps all the torque into the motors, or into the wheels from the motors. But yeah, you put your foot down, and there is a little bit of a delay, and it's a bit uncomfortable, because you put your foot down, and it starts gently accelerating, and half a second later, it goes bang in your back. It's like it's warming up a bit. I don't know why it's got that, and it is mostly only in sport mode, but I've noticed it on an hour-long drive, so you'll notice it if you own it. That's why I'm mentioning it. But it's probably something that can be fixed in software or smoothed out. It just feels not quite finished. Interesting. Let's go. Right, I'm on twisty roads now, so let's see how the iX handles when driven sportlich. I think that's the German for sportly. I'm in sport mode, and yeah, this has an impressive amount of grip for something with that much weight going around there far too fast, and yeah, it handles pretty well. It's not entertaining, but it's grippy, and you can drive it quickly. You don't get any histrionics out of corners from the dual motors. There's definitely no skidding about or anything like that. The brakes are strong, but I wouldn't want to use them repeatedly heavily, because I think with this much mass they're just going to get very hot and stop working. But you don't buy a family SUV to set fire to your brakes, at least I hope you don't. If you do, buy a Lamborghini Urus with massive carbon ceramics. But from the driving I've done, I'm very impressed by the breadth of abilities of this iX. It's very comfortable when you need it to be. It's very quiet at high speeds on motorways. It's got a long range, and it talks over you repeatedly. But no, and it's good on twisty road as well. The four-wheel steering helps around town. It's a very good package in terms of driving. It's not the ultimate driving machine. It's not going to put a smile on your face, but it ticks all the real boxes it needs to really tick. I said real too many times. Anyway, back to you, Tim, for an outro about the BMW iX. Right, I've come to the end of my drive with the BMW iX. I'm at the big BMW factory in Dingolfing, which is bloody massive. It's basically a village all on its own for making BMWs and Minis. But anyway, the car, it is very good. It's very impressive. It's very expensive, especially in this guise. It's going to be 100 grand pretty much before options. Obviously there will be cheaper versions, but they might not have the same ride quality. This rides so well on the air suspension, yet it's nimble with the rear wheel steer. It's got a joyous interior. The infotainment is amazing. It's really roomy in the back. You can sit diagonally in the back because they've padded the kind of C-pillar insides. It's very well thought out. It's very clever. It's very good. Now we have to talk about the elephant elephant in the room, and that is the looks. I have to say, I am getting used to it. In person, it looks a lot better than on camera. It's still, you know, obviously a bit challenging, but if you can live with the looks, if you can live with the price, then it is an absolutely astonishing electric SUV. I don't know how BMW's made a 2.4 ton car ride this well, handle neatly, and you can chuck it around more than you would think, and they've put lots of clever touches into it. So yeah, very good, well done BMW. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching. If you've liked this video, hit like, because it does help me out. Leave me a comment calling me a schnitzel, and I'll see you next time once you've subscribed, when I won't be in a German car factory. Goodbye.